This is a recruitment video for a Papers, Please / border game roleplay I'm making on Roblox. It's aiming to be better than the Roblox roleplay counterpart, Papers, Please. PLS. Oh. As I mentioned in the very short intro, this game is a border game, meaning there's civilians trying to cross the border, guards keeping stuff under control, inspectors inspecting passports and letting the right people through, etc. However, unlike other games, you don't need to join a different group and attend boring training. Instead, training is in-game. That's right, in-game. You also don't need to join a 14-year-old band kid's Discord server. The weapon system in this game will be a heavily modified ACS, or Advanced Combat System. I'm just reading off the script. That'll let us use animations instead of needing to rely on script smarts. Save the scripter's time. If we can't do that, we'll find better alternatives. Weapons in this game include standard Soviet weapons like the popular AK-47, Mosin Nagant, PKM, and so on. There are also knives which can be thrown or used as melee, Molotov cocktails, even though those are finished, but it's a game, who cares. Grenades, machetes, and more. Farm tools like shovels and rakes are also in there. Shotguns are also in the game, I should probably mention. There's a gore system, and it is slightly realistic, but not realistic enough to get content deleted. Arms, torsos, legs, and heads aren't safe from this, meaning they're all affected by the gore. By default, you won't be able to turn this off. There are 7 total roles, and they are Dreg, Citizen, Resistance, Guard, Inspector, Elite Guard, and Major Guard. The Inspector, Elite Guard, and Major Guard save, meaning you can play as them in the future. Dregs, Citizens, Resistance, and Guards do not. However, if you pass the border either through inspection or illegally 10 times, the Citizen role will save. To become a Resistance fighter, simply pick up a gun, drop from a dead body, and start shooting. If you bought a gun with a Game Pass, which lets you keep it in your inventory permanently, it will still drop. Sorry, I'm not used to talking for this long. It will let you keep it like in your inventory permanently, but it will still drop, but it will return to your inventory once you respawn, or if you join the game and rejoin, if you leave the game and rejoin, or stuff like that. It also saves on different roles, blah blah blah. All guns are about the same price and are a fair price too, around 45 Robux. To become a guard, click on a propaganda poster and follow the red arrow. The arrow goes to the border, so make sure to have a legally obtained passport and work pass. You can't become a guard, inspector, elite guard, or major guard if you pass the border illegally. So the red arrow goes to like a training area, or like a military building, and in that building, you can train in there. All the training is indoors, it's not outdoors. Training for guards, I think, hang on. Oh no, okay. So like I mentioned earlier, I am reading off a script, otherwise this video would be all over the place and I would have a lot of different pauses. So I wrote down a script so I wouldn't really get lost. So I'm gonna go back to script. Training for guards and inspectors is easy. Guard training is literally just the pit from Modern Warfare 2, and inspector training is this as seen on screen. Elite guard training, since they are backup soldiers, is guard training except the targets fire back, meaning they're not live, but they're robots. This is set in like an alternate Cold War, but America is still winning. Major guard training is just an easy question and answer, since the major guards just look over the elite and regular guards. I'm not good with military training, I barely know, so cut me some slack. Your passport is customizable. You can write a custom entry reason, set your gender, and change the color of your passport. Inspectors should not be misogynists or sexists. Inspectors should not be sexist, so they should not let a woman through because, you know, she's a woman. I did mention work passes, which are required to work at jobs in Nublovsk. In Kopetov, you don't need this, since you are the boot of society. There are also cargo passes, which let cargo drivers easily drive through, in and out the border. Dregs can sneak into these cargo trucks and hide in the backs of them, as I don't want to limit the players to having just one way of passing the border. If you already went through inspection and for some reason want to go back to Kopetov, you can get a re-entry pass, which lets you freely pass inspection if you show it to a guard or the inspector. Jobs in this game are obviously what gives you money. No money means no food or water, which means death. There's only one dreg job. No, there isn't. Again, I'm just reading off the script. There isn't only one dreg job. I added some of these after I thought I was done writing. And that's a farmer. You get 5 per crop sickled. Everything is just easy money in the game, but that's kind of how I want it to be. Maybe in a future update, I'll make everything very grindy to kind of give that feeling of a poor person, you know. Passports are about $60, and other passes are just a mere $5. Citizens have lots of jobs, and they all pay decently well. Money saves, so you can have like 5,000 as a dreg. The citizen jobs are factory worker, book author, propaganda poster artist, farmer but better, and street cleaner. Each citizen... Damn. Again, I'm not used to talking this long. That burp tasted nasty. Each citizen job pays a lot of money, but the propaganda poster artist will probably pay the most, around $50 per poster created. It takes about 20 seconds to make one poster, so it is kind of somewhat balanced, sort of. Book author comes in second with $40. Sorry, I'm sorry. There's like a bunch of mucus in my throat. It takes about 50 seconds to make one book. Factory worker comes in third, but you can do different things like pull a lever to bring down a press, pushing buttons that secretly don't do anything, and scribble nothing on a clipboard for $35 every minute. That's right, $35 every minute. That means in about 5 minutes you can make more than a propaganda poster artist, I think. My math is probably wrong. What an absolute steal! Farmer comes in fourth. It's basically the dreg farmer job, but it pays a lot more and has more crops. It's $25 every crop farmed. I don't know the word. Street cleaner comes in last, and all you do is clean up trash on the street. It pays about $20 every trash cleaned. I forgot to mention hunting exists, and you can get paid $10 if you turn in the meat. This is only a dreg job. Not really. I mean, you can still hunt in like the area around Nublovsk, but there's nothing, so it's technically considered a dreg job. There is a forest near Nublovsk, as I mentioned, but it's empty. There's another trapper in Nublovsk. It's a tongue twister for me. For cargo drivers, if you want to like, for some reason, sell in Nublovsk. They pay the same price, but it's just if you want to look busy. There is also a coal miner job that pays the same every coal mine, $10. It takes a while to mine one vein of coal, and if other people like mine that one vein of coal, they all get $10 once it's done. You can also just mine it once and let other people do the work, and you'll still get $10. As I mentioned before, or very lightly mentioned, I did mention there is a hunger and thirst system as well as a sleep system. Sleep degrades very, very slowly, but it does affect your vision and your movement speed. It'll probably take a whole hour to actually get tired in game, like a whole real life hour. You can drink straight from the river and risk getting the disease since it is a sickness system. However, the intensity is based on what you do and where you're at. For example, drinking water straight from the river has a small intensity, but sneaking past the border through the sewer system, if you're like injured, since you know, kind of like a cut, or like apart from fall damage, it will still count as, but whatever, back to the script. Through the sewers, if you're injured, or going through radioactive areas has a large intensity. All it does is make it hard to see, it makes you slower, and gives you a sick and frail face. It also slowly degrades health over time. And you can actually die from sickness, obviously. Except like larger intensity things like radiation, you do get killed almost, like, you do get killed quickly. The sick and frail face is for all intensities, but the movements and sickness vigilant, which is like just a regular vigilant that like gets more, can't tell if it's opaque or more opaque, I think that's the word, as time goes on, is, back to the script, is more intense based on the intensity of the sickness. Duh. You can boil the water and safely drink it with campfires on the riverbank. They have like a pot that you can boil. You can also use these campfires to cook meat and safely eat it. You can also get fish from the river and cook them there. There is weather, and weather affects some things. During rain, you can get more fish from the river and it grows crops faster, but you can't cook meat since the campfire's doused. This goes to camp and barrel fires that aren't covered. So if a barrel fire or a campfire is under a tarp, you can place a tarp, by the way, and like cover the fires. This will, actually no, you can't, because that'll require a bunch of scripting. Anyways, back to the script, I'm sorry. There's also a really very small chance of getting sick from the rain, like a 0.001% chance. During snow, the lake is frozen and you have an increased chance of getting sick, as well as getting hypothermia, which is like the only like different thing in the game, pretty much. Like, I don't know. Hypothermia in the game is it makes one of your limbs turn black and quite literally fall off. Like, if your right arm falls off, you can't hold anything until you get a prosthetic arm, which costs $100. If your left falls off, you can't hold two-handed things like rifles, and you can't reload pistols until you get a prosthetic arm. If you lose a leg, your walk speed will be significantly slower, and you can't sprint until you get a prosthetic leg. If you lose both legs, you get a special crawling animation, and you're really slow until you get prosthetics. You can also lose limbs from being shot off, from them being shot off or torn off by like a wolf or something, like a bear, not just hypothermia. You can buy houses for a really cheap price, 10 in Kopedov and 20 in Nubelovsk. They don't do much except house you from the cold and like rain and stuff, and have a better bed, which yes, will affect how fast your slumber bar fills back up. Why did I say bar like that? So your slumber bar fills back up. Poorer quality beds like mattresses and bedrolls refill it slowly, while regular beds fill it back up. A side note is that if a mattress or a bedroll is visibly dirty, you do have a chance of getting sick from that. With the mention of cargo trucks, there are obviously vehicles. The game has mainly Soviet vehicles, but there are very few American ones as well. Of course, the being the classic UAZ, Lada, Niva, and Riva, and the Gaz. In Nubelovsk, these cars range from about 500, but in Kopetov they can be around 200, at the cost of being absolutely shitty. The cargo pass will also let you bring your car through the border, since there are 2 legal entrances, one for passing on foot and one for passing in a car, which the... whatever. I'm just reading off the script. There are multiple ways to get over the border illegally, as I mentioned before, including a placeable ladder tool I never mentioned. You can use a shovel to dig in a designated area. There are multiple. You can dig in those areas. The areas will show if you have a shovel in your hand, only when you have a shovel in your hand. You can also use dynamite in designated planting areas. The like where you can place them, there will be a like an area they'll show. Attempt to cross a cargo inspection is one of the other ways, and many other ways. Like I said, I have no plans on restricting people to just 1 or 2 entrances. I want to give them freedom. The map is about 4 base plates in length and 3 base plates in width, and the border lies exactly in the middle. Nublavsk is a large city, and Kopetov is only a smallish town. It is quite a large town, but like not really. Half of the buildings are demolished and stuff. Small list of little details. The map slowly gets covered in snow. Sort of around 5 minutes of snowfall, the map gets covered in like a snowy grass. 5 more minutes later, and the map is entirely covered in snow. This is a system that only replaces the terrain grass, nothing else. Also, you can see your breath, and the frozen river obviously gets slippery. During rainfall, the river gets a little higher. Another detail, rats can search for food and will steal food from you. If you take the food back, there's a high chance of you getting sick. Not 100% chance, like just a very high chance of you getting sick, since all the rats are diseased. Outfits do affect your temperature. The outfit you start with sucks at keeping you warm, so if you join a server that's in winter, then you're just shit out of luck unless you buy a new hat. Speaking of this, since heat escapes mainly from your head, or quicker from your head, I think, I don't know. Wearing a warm hat like a Yushenka will keep you warm if you still have the starting outfit. Also, during rainfall, the fake river effect that's on top of the water speeds up a bit. Not sure if I mentioned it, but the water isn't terrain water. Like, it's not like Roblox terrain. It's just part water. That's it. Time to add things that I probably forgot to put in the script. I'm too lazy to add the script.